Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. Are the Glazers looking to keep hold of Manchester United? There's been a few United fans concerned today in relation to a report this morning that we discussed at lunchtime from the ESPN, Rob Dawson saying that the Glazers are still considering just taking investment and retaining Manchester United, as they can see a situation under Ten Hag where the club is going to skyrocket to success, huge wealth, and they want to be a part of that success. They don't want to turn their back on Manchester United. So, look, let's dive into it. I've spoken to a couple of people today that I, talk to quite regularly, and basically said, look, is there anything in this story? So let's get into it. And I think, look, there's a lot of things going on around Manchester United at the moment. There's the Mason Greenwood stuff. There's the actual football. There is the sale. We've had the Ronaldo stuff. We've got Jadon Sancho coming back. There's been a few things for United fans to be digesting at the moment. And the last thing we want is this, prospective sale that sort of has kept us going through a poor January transfer window to crash and not actually happen. So I think that we look at it and we go, you know what, that there is a backstory to this. It was November last year when Manchester United announced that they were looking for a sale. And within that statement, it did mention investment. So it would be foolish not to acknowledge the fact that United have always mentioned investment as well as a full sale. However, that has always been underpinned, privately and also publicly by many people, that is just part of a sale process. You don't necessarily show all your cards, that you're desperate to sell the whole thing, and a partial investment may well be, keep your options open. The truth is that Manchester United put it out there publicly in November that they're up for sale. And ever since then, prospective buyers have been, declaring their interest to Manchester United and the Rain Group, who are actually conducting this sale or investment process. And many people have done that. And over the next couple of weeks, we will get to a point where the official bids will start to come in for the club. And those official bids, as we understand it, will be for full ownership of Manchester United. There is nobody that has come forward at this time that is interested in, propping up the Glazers, giving them 75% ownership still and giving them a couple of billion for 25%. Nobody's come forward for that. And the most important thing to remember is that I like Rob Dawson. I think he's a good journalist. There are other good journalists as well who discuss this, and I don't think he's in any way wrong to say that the Glazers, especially Joel and Avram, would love to keep Manchester United. They're the two people that, when we name the Glazers, you can picture them. There are other Glazers involved who you couldn't picture them. I can't. And apparently Joel and Avram are pictured around Manchester United and visible because they take the most interest. The rest of the family don't, and apparently the rest of the family do want a full sale. They want to cash in and move out, whereas Joel and Avram still would apparently like to stay involved with Manchester United. But the truth is, the club was put up publicly for sale in November, but the investment strategy wasn't from November. Manchester United have been looking, and the Glazers have been looking for investment for the last couple of years. So it's not like, I'm not panicked by this, that the Glazers would still like to keep the club and get somebody to invest and, prop them up and keep them in the post, because they've been looking for this for 2 years. This was plan A. Plan B is to sell the club completely. Plan A has always been investment. And to be honest with you, I think it was last summer, there was talk of some investment or company from America getting involved, and I think a load of people bombarded them with negative tweets and stuff like that. So the Glazers have been looking for a partial sale of Manchester United for quite a while. Remember, they were in negotiations, I believe they were in negotiations with the Manchester United Supporters Trust and about, some sort of fan share scheme as well. Who knows what the nuts and bolts of that actually were, but that could potentially have been a percentage of the club being given up for some sort of investment from fans. So they have been openly looking for investment options for quite a while. And a lot of that was talk of 25%. They would be looking, I think, if they want 6 billion for a full sale, they would probably want somewhere between 1.5 and 2 billion for 25%. But nobody's ever bitten on it. And the reason I think nobody's ever bitten on it is because it's still, I wouldn't want I wouldn't want 25% of Manchester United, even if I was a multi-billionaire. I wouldn't want 25%. And this is what a lot of people are like, because even if you've got the money, and even if you love the club, and even if you see the potential, you're giving it to somebody who's got 75%, and you've also got 17 years of their ownership to see what the evidence is. if they said to me, we want you to have 25% for 2 billion, but you don't get full voting rights, and we're going to use that money to build a stadium, I would then say, but what else are you going to do for the next 10 years? Because the last 17 years, you've took dividends. You've retained the debt. You've not run the club that well in relation to success on the pitch. There aren't sponsors lined up to come into this club. Oh, well, look, Ten Hag's really good now. Yeah, but that's because of Ten Hag. You've tried Moyes, you've tried Van Gaal, you've tried Mourinho, you've tried Solskjaer, and the price and the debt and everything has just risen through that time. You've landed on the right manager now, but you're basically telling me that your whole policy is based on the manager being good. That's not a policy for me to invest in. Personally, I'm a billionaire. I would like to buy the club and run it in a way, I think, with a new fresh start. And I think that's a lot of the problems that the Glazers have. So, look, in relation to the people I've spoken to today, that's basically a summary of that. But a more blunt summary of it is that nothing has changed. The Glazers, if they were offered the money they want and they could keep 75%, they'd take it now. But up until now, that's never been an option. So ultimately, they have to sell. What you've got to remember is the Glazers are in a position where they can't do nothing. They have to do something. The stadium needs rebuilding, or it needs, we need a new stadium. That will cost anywhere around £1.5 to £2 billion. But there's infrastructure costs. There are a lack of sponsors lined up. There are huge issues around the debt. There is huge issues around potential financial fair play. The club needs restructuring from top to bottom, and it also needs a lot of investment, and the Glazers don't want to do that. So the Glazers' plan has always been to bring somebody in to pay for that restructure and giving up a bit of the club to allow that. Their plan is not to invest their money into this football club, and that is why when you get stories about the Glazers looking for investment and they'd like to stay, well, that's nothing new. That's always been the plan for 2 years, and I think most United fans need to realise that. Their plan has always been to look for investment because they can't afford to build a stadium. They can't afford to run the club. They need money to come in if they want to stay. But, of course, everybody knows what we've always known is that this is not the actions of die-hard Manchester United fans who want Manchester United to be successful. This is the actions of people, as they've always been, who bought this club as an opportunity to make money. They bought it on debt. They've kept it in debt. They've taken dividends out. And, of course, if they could have another 15, 17 years doing this, they will do that. And I don't think they'd make any secret of that. But the problem is, I think, they've reached the end of the road. I don't see how any logical business people could want to give up money to let the Glazers run Manchester United. For many, many reasons, and also they cannot do it themselves. So personally, and from having the conversations I've had, I do really believe that this will lead to a full sale for Manchester United, because I just do not see a way that they are going to get something now that they've been unable to get for the last 2 years. And some people would say, well, look, publicly saying the club's up for sale might publicly bring in investors, but this isn't selling your bike on eBay. This is Manchester United. Just because it goes public doesn't mean people who weren't aware that there might be investment opportunities weren't aware before. It's been public knowledge for a couple of years within the industry that the Glazers are looking for investment. So I'd be very, very surprised if that happened. And also what you've got to remember is, and we can never, ever put any, certainty on this, but you saw what happened with the Super League. You've seen what's happened with protests at the end of last season and into this season. Do you really think that the United fan base would be happy to see an opportunity for the Glazers to go and United to have a new start? And let's not forget, they're going to go with £6 billion in their pocket. They're going to go with huge profit that they probably don't deserve. So they're not losers, they're winners. Whether they want to go or not, you are being highly recompensed for the damage you've done to the club. So they're going to walk off into the sunset with a lot of money. So there's no sympathy around that. And I think United fans can deal with them walking off with that money because we get a new start. But can United fans live with the prospect of the Glazers being here for another 5, 10, 15 years, propped up by who knows what, giving them a couple of billion so that they can stay at the club and be the full owners? And I don't think what Ten Hag does on the pitch and the players do on the pitch and the trophies they hopefully win on the pitch would change that. And United wouldn't change if the Glazers stayed anyway, because the investment they got would be used for the stadium. And you know what they would do. They would do what Arsenal did. Arsenal didn't really buy players under Wenger when they were building the Emirates, because it was all about getting fourth place, and obviously we're building a big stadium. And you could see that a million miles off. If the Glazers somehow did manage to stay with investment, we'd get 4 or 5 years of, well, we can't really invest in the squad because we're investing in the stadium. And that would totally derail anything that Ten Hag is trying to do when you're competing against the wealth of Chelsea, Newcastle, Man City and potentially Liverpool. So I think the future under the Glazers would be very, very simple to see. It would be one where tightening our belts because of building a stadium, dividends would probably still happen, and we wouldn't get the investment in the squad that it desperately needs. So a future under the Glazers would not be a bright future. And they need to realise that as well. I mean, if you take what was said by Rob Dawson, that the Glazers, or Joel and Avram Glazer, would like to stay because they can sense that success is coming back under Ten Hag and there's a lot of money to be made out of that, they would derail the success of Ten Hag. Ten Hag will deliver Premier Leagues, maybe Champions Leagues, if we have the same sort of ownership model that competitive clubs have in the Premier League and in Europe. He will not be able to deliver those under a Glazer ownership model because they would not provide him with it. And ultimately as well, it's the secondary issues as well. At least with new owners, there is a prospect that maybe we will get a much better recruitment department. Under the Glazers, have they ever changed the structure of the club? This is my opinion. The Glazers have, over the last 10 years that Sir Alex hasn't been the manager, have spent money. But they've made the same mistakes time and time again. It's bring a manager in, back them for 1 or 2 transfer windows, then don't back them at all, leave them to hang out to dry, and then sack them and go through the process again. We've done it 4 times. They've sacked and recruited managers 4 times. But at no time did they ever sack the CEO or the director of football. No, they've never made those changes. In their attempts to be successful, it's always the manager. It's always the manager. It's always the manager. It's never the CEO. It's never the director of football. It's never the structure above the manager. So if the Glazers did stay, we would continue with what we've got now. There would be no change to the structure, which is desperately in need of it. So, of course, the prospect of the Glazers staying would be a nightmare because nothing would change. We might get a new stadium out of it, but there wouldn't be a lot else. In fact, that would be an excuse for them not to change things structurally. So, yes, we need a full sale of Manchester United. Yes, the word on the street is that that is still the most likely option. And yes, the Glazers would love to stay if somebody would invest, because they've been looking for that for 2 years. They've been looking for investment longer than they've been looking for a full sale. But no, I don't think it will happen, because I can't see logically why anybody would want to do that. There is if you have the money and there is an opportunity to buy the club, why would you just go and say, yeah, I'll give you some money, but I won't have any ownership of it? It defies belief. The only option is that somebody who can't afford to buy the club raises enough money to give them the money to get 25% of the club. And that's scary in itself, because if they don't have enough money to buy the club, they only have enough money for 25%, they're completely the wrong people anyway, because what that will be is investment funds. That'll be investment funds that can raise a couple of billion and invest in Man United. And that's the last thing we want. We want individuals or organisations that want Manchester United to be the biggest football club in the world. We don't want people giving the Glazers a couple of billion because they want a return on that in 5 years. It would be a bloody nightmare. And thankfully, nobody's come forward and done that yet. And I would say if that happened as well, with total confidence, if that did happen, you would see outcry, outrage, protests a lot. Because what you cannot do with any fan base, like a Manchester United or a Liverpool, where the fans are, absolutely intertwined into the club, its history and its success. What you cannot do with those types of fan bases is dangle the carrot of we're finally going and we're going to sell up, and then go, we're not anymore. It's like taunting a pit bull, isn't it? It's like taunting it with a bit of meat. It's like taunting. No, it's worse than a dog. It's like getting on your boat and going out to sea, and you know, you've got a big massive steak and you just keep dipping it in the water where there's sharks, and as they come to get it, you tip it away. You keep getting it away and going, ah ha ha, ah ha ha, ha ha ha, and then in half an hour you're wondering why your boat's been eaten and you're in the stomach of a great white shark. You know, you can't taunt a fan base that has put up with something they've not wanted for a very, very long time, who see that it's about to end, and then you go, oh, actually, we're not doing it now. I mean, if they thought the protests and everything were bad before, I think they'd be a lot worse, because you've basically taunted them. You've gone, oh yeah, we are going to go. Oh, we're not really. We're staying. It's going to make people even more frustrated and angry. So it would be a bad move by the Glazers to try and stay now. But look, I wouldn't say I'm 100% sure that wouldn't happen, but I'm 90% sure, and I feel like going higher than that they are going to sell. And as I said, you know, the summary for you is this: they've always looked for investment. They've been looking for this for a long time. The sale only got announced in November because they couldn't find investment. Anyone you talk to, the most likely outcome is a sale, because there's going to be a lot of money, and this football club is probably worth about £4 billion. Logically, they could get anywhere between 6 and 8. You know, they could double what the club's worth and walk away with huge profit. Are they going to turn that down when their only motivation has always been money? You know, they don't want to keep United because they're United fans. They don't want to keep United because they want to own United when we win the treble or something like that. They want to own United because they want to make money out of it. And here is somebody who's going to walk forward and give you £2 or £3 billion more than it's worth. Money talks, and I think when those bids go in, I think that'll be too much. And remember that, you know, there is a Glazer consortium in itself. It's not just Joel and Avram. They might want to stay, but, you know, there's the word of the others that don't want to go. So I think it will end up in a sale. And it took me 20 minutes to sort of work through that, but I think it's important because it's an important topic for a lot of people. Thanks everyone for watching. Smash a like on the video. Tomorrow is match day. What a week it's been. Looking forward to a bit of football tomorrow, as I'm sure you are. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe. And don't forget, at the end of the video, you can click the link in the video description and you can check out our tour. Tour tickets are still available in Manchester and in London. Get those tickets while you can for the March international break. Can't wait to meet and get, you know, have a show live, and, you know, it's going to be great. I'm so excited about it. You know, we're finally getting out and going to meet people and stuff like that. So it's going to be cool. Can't wait. Thanks everyone for watching. Get your tickets in the video description. Smash a like on the video, and I'll speak to you all soon. Thanks for watching.